The whole point of a yearly standard format rotation is so the Pokemon Company can force you to buy new cards. I mean, it's to keep a healthy meta. Yeah, definitely that one. Whatever the case, barring reprints, cards last no more than about 3 years in standard. As a result, for our 2025 rotation on March 27th in Pokemon TCG Live and 2 weeks later IRL, all of the F-Block cards from 2022 will be gone. This means a lot of great cards like every V, V-Star, V-Max Radiant, and everything else from the Sword and Shield era with a yellow border will have to be taken out of your deck so they can stay legal. In this video, I'll be showing you the decks most impacted by rotation. Now, it won't be decks like Regidrago V-Star that simply don't exist on March 27th. I mean decks where the core remains in standard, but they've just lost so much juice that only a crazy person would dare to continue playing them live on stream at twitch.tv/trustyourpilot. At one point, Miraidon EX was the best deck in standard. Come rotation, it fades faster than my ex-wife's looks after our wedding. You might see what Miraidon still has access to and think it'll survive. Miraidon gets your Lightning Basics, Iron Hands EX can take 2 prizes on lower HP Pokemon, Electric Generator accelerates energy from deck, and Magneton accelerates energy from the discard pile. So what's the problem? Well, for starters, it can't one-shot a naked Raging Bolt EX. Yeah, no matter which lightning type attackers you want to go for, none of them deal more than 220 damage. It's kinda pathetic. Unfortunately, rotation takes Raikou V and Raichu V, Miraidon's 2 heaviest hitters. Raikou could do an easy 240 or more with Area 0 in play, while Raichu only needed to discard 6 energy to one-shot a Dragapult or Charizard. There's a few other cards Miraidon loses like Heavy Ball and Forest Sealstone, but Raikou and Raichu are irreplaceable. As a result, Miraidon hasn't done much in Japan. The highest performing list these past couple of months only reached 3rd in a small tournament. Instead of Electric Generator, it relied on Joltik and Magneton to accelerate energy. This more easily enables Pikachu EX to attack, which is why Sparkling Crystal is the ace spec. But even then, Pikachu tops out at 300 damage. So if you want a one-shot high HP stage 2s, you have to use that 1 copy of Defiance Band and 1 copy of Gravity Mountain perfectly. Otherwise, you can try to Iron Hands your way to victory. This 4th place list goes for 3 Iron Hands EX, 16 Lightning Energy, and 4 Electric Generator. The strategy is obvious. One-shot everything with 120 HP or less with Ampu very much, take 2 prizes, and somehow win the game with just 3 KOs. Obviously, if they play something like Raging Bolt, you're kinda screwed, but Noctowl, Andrecloak, and Monkey Dory will see heavy usage post-rotation, so it's not far-fetched to think it could happen. This list also goes for Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking and Academy at Night to try and ensure you hit energy off of those Jennies. All in all though, Miraidon just can't compete post-rotation. A basic heavy deck like this needs to be able to reliably take 1-hit KOs against Dragapult and Charizard. It can no longer do that, which means its time has passed. And unless we get some busted new Lightning type cards and Destined Rivals, which seems unlikely, then it probably won't be making a comeback before summer, if ever. Just like Miraidon, and partially thanks to Miraidon, Klawf Terapagos was at one point a top deck in Standard. While Terapagos EX is very much a playable card post-rotation thanks to its Terraness, colorless energy first attack cost, and access to Glass Trumpet, Klawf is gone for good. Yes, Brute Bonnet and Ancient Booster still exist to poison Klawf, thus allowing it to deal 190 damage, but both Double Turbo Energy and Radiant Sneasler are gone on the 27th. This means actually attacking with Klawf is far more trouble than it's worth, requiring something like Counter Gain or Experience Share or Crispin. Here's where I'd normally show you a successful post-rotation Klawf list, but like a happy, well-adjusted PDC GL player, they don't exist. The crab is cooked, but poison is not. And the partner will definitely surprise you. In the past couple of weeks, Archaludon binding Mochi has been doing well in Japan. Like, really well, like you'd call on Old Yeller well. The same core strategy exists, except instead of a heavy-hitting basic, you have a heavy-hitting 300 hit point stage 1 that accelerates energy to itself. And with access to Pecharunt and Perilous Jungle, you can still donk unsuspecting players who only put a single low HP basic into play. Just like before, I'm about to break, you poison Archaludon, attach the Mochi, and deal 260 damage. Thanks to Perilous Jungle, they'll take 30 more during checkup, meaning it's effectively doing 290, a pretty great number. And if they don't switch out, that's another 30 during the next checkup, meaning a Dragapult EX is KO'd. So if you're going through Klawf withdrawal in a few weeks, throw Archaludon into your old list and have some fun. And if you didn't notice, Archaludon Poison doesn't feature any new cards from Journey Together. So boil your old Klawf deck, discard the shell, and smear the innards all over this bridge to create something absolutely toxic. Aqua Patch, Metal Saucer, Dark Patch. All three of these are type-specific energy acceleration, with Metal Saucer in particular helping Zacian V and ADP dominate the meta just a few years back. Now that Dark Patch is leaving, naturally it makes the best Turbo Dark deck in Standard much worse. Brace yourselves, Roaring Moon players, and pardon my French, because the EX goes from great to la poo-poo. Sure, technically it's still playable post-rotation with a combination of Sada's Vitality, Counter Gain, and a manual attachment, but that's a lot of work for a subpar replacement to a single item. To their credit, Japanese players have tried to make Roaring Moon EX work, except none of the builds have done particularly well. This third place Gouging Fire EX deck chucks in a single copy of Roaring Moon as a backup attacker who can one-shot somebody with Frenzied Gouging when necessary. But it's not like Gouging Fire is all that impressive post-rotation either. 260 damage for 3 energy is good and all, so is 290 hit points with a booster plus the bonus damage through poison. But without Magma Basin, getting 3 energy on it is tough. If energy is the problem, you can go for 4 Sada's Vitality, which accelerates from the discard pile, plus 2 Janine's Secret Art, which accelerates from the deck. Throw in a Lily's Clefairy EX and a Mew EX, and you have a deck that functions. But Janine isn't Dark Patch. Having an item that could put up to 4 energy into play immediately was amazing. Now you have to use a supporter, manual attachment, and energy switch just to mimic you a fraction of Dark Patch's power. Similarly, there's Roaring Moon with N Zoroark EX. N Zoroark ability discards a card from hand and draws 2. So you discard a Darkness energy, draw 2, then Sada that energy into play. As an added bonus, you can get N's PP up. Essentially Dark Patch for N's Pokemon, you can accelerate energy from the discard pile to one of his bench Pokemon, then energy switch it to a Roaring Moon. This list only gets N's PP up once, but you could play with 4 PPs and 4 energy switches, once again creating something that doesn't feel great. Okay, how about pairing it with Blissey EX? As you can see, this list only plays a single copy of Roaring Moon, no Sada, and only 1 Janine, but it does throw in a TM Turbo Energize for good measure. Blissey's ability moves energy around, so the goal here is to get energy into play and keep it there with experience share. Honestly, this might be the best way to play Roaring Moon post-rotation. You'll want to change the list so there's more of an emphasis on Roaring Moon and Sada or Janine though. But if this is the best Roaring Moon gets come March 27th, then you shouldn't be excited about it like N is when we get his PP up for game. Now, of course, as I was in the process of making this video, Roaring Moon went and won a small tournament in Japan. So there is a glimmer of hope. Even with that success though, it just seems like it's trying to be something it's not. Only 2 of the EX plus 1 baby Roaring Moon is potentially rough in a world without Heavy Ball. You also have to rely on Energy Switch and your manual attachment to attack. I stand by my sweet ass assessment that Roaring Moon gets much worse post-rotation, but if everything goes right, it is still a very strong card. Similar to the EX, Baby Roaring Moon is also affected by the loss of Dark Patch. Once one of the best single prize decks that multi-prize decks hated seeing, the Moon has been eclipsed by things like Feraligatr and Slowking. The only Japanese list that I could find to finish in first place went for a 4/4 to Dunsparce for continuous card draw, Legacy Energy to buy an extra turn, Great Tusk to mill them if they aren't paying attention, Gravity Mountain to reduce the HP of stage 2s by 30, and 27 ancient cards in total, meaning you can potentially deal 300 or more damage towards the end of a game. What I found most interesting about this list is that there isn't a single copy of Pal Pad. I know Roaring Moon only requires 2 energy to attack, so you can use Sada and manually attach, but come on, you need at least 1 Pal Pad to recycle supporters. You could easily cut 1 to Dunsparce to make room, thus giving you access to a potential 6 Sada's Vitality throughout the game. It's also heavily lacking in Gust, relying on just 2 Counter Catcher. So things could fall apart faster than my marriage after she asked what that $600 charge from the Pokemon Center was on her credit card. United Wings, meanwhile, is absolutely decimated by rotation. While all of the Wangs can still be played with in 2025, double Turbo Energy leaving means you can't attack with Flamigo or Wattrel. That's horrible because Flamigo's ability only works if you put 1 into play. Except you'll never actually attack with it, so it's useless. Not only that, Wattrel can't hit any Lightning Pokemon for weakness anymore. With the loss of Ditto, you can't use it to copy Murkrow, dealing upwards of 320 damage for a single energy, assuming your discard pile was full. So you'll always have to have a Wang poking out, reducing your total damage. I know United Wings was never a top deck or anything, but if you want to play this post-rotation, you're going to have to do it on a wing and a prayer. Not a single person in Japan has done anything with United Wings this year. You can only attack with Murkrow and, I guess, Dartrix if you want. All of your attackers are chewed up and spit out by Dragapult, and with Monkey Dory a heavily played card, your opponent will be taking multi-prize turns while you're busy trying to research for the third turn in a row hoping to find some balls to play with. Oh, and Thornton and Collapse Stadium are gone too, so putting a Squawkabilly EX into play is basically giving your opponent 2 free prizes. If you want it to work, I don't know, maybe pair it with Zoroark EX. Kirlia and Liepard are gone, so it's your best Pokemon base discard and draw. Brilliant Blender helps build up your discard pile, Rabska tries to protect your bench, and Redeemable Ticket is your less than ideal replacement for Heavy Ball. Obviously you'll struggle against Dragapult, but this absolutely will get some wins at the lower ranks. Once you start to face tougher opponents though, you'll realize that these wings have been clipped. Because this video is getting more depressing than watching Charmander hide under that leaf in the rain not knowing Ash and his friends would rescue it, this will be the last deck I feature. At first, I wanted to go with Chien Pao backed Caliber. Except I noticed on Limitless that it's sitting in 28th among all the top decks this format. So it's not like it's a tier 1 deck right now or anything. That being said, Chien Pao does lose quite a few good cards. Irida for consistency, Barrel for card draw, Pokestop to mill all your best cards, and Radiant Greninja for its all-around awesomeness are gone. Add in Badoo to shut off your rare candies, and life will be tough for the Sworder-Toothed Tiger. Though, thanks to the existence of Regigigas to one-shot Terras for 4 energy, it will still have a place in Standard. Ultimately, while it gets worse, I don't think it'll drop too much from a top 30 deck. Okay, what about Hydreigon EX? It's sitting in 23rd and loses Dark Patch, the helpful V Pokemon in Forest Sealstone. Yeah, it might drop a few places, but 200 damage for 2 energy and a mill of 3 has been better than I thought it would. While it will be tougher to launch a surprise Obsidian, Manaphy's gone, so when you do Crispin and Neo Upper Energy with Counter Gain, you don't really have to worry about it being blocked except by Terras. So it'll probably stay top 30? No, my pick is slightly controversial given that I was one of the first believers in it back when Surging Sparks launched. I'm of course talking about Ceruledge EX. A top 10 deck in our current format and the top deck in the Surging Sparks format for the first month, things aren't looking good for Ceruledge post-rotation. Except when you first glance at it, Ceruledge seems really hot as it doesn't really lose much from the F block. Depending on how you played Ceruledge, Radiant Greninja might be the only noticeable card you have to take out. No, what hurts Ceruledge the most is the shift towards wall decks. Milotic EX in particular is horrible for Ceruledge. It can one-shot you with its attack and you can't do anything because of its ability. And with canceling Cologne gone, there's nothing you can do against Milotic, Mimikyu, Aegislash, or the upcoming Crustle. It doesn't matter how much energy you put in the discard pile, those are just auto losses. It gets even worse. Feraligatr hits you for weakness and can take a one-shot for as little as a single energy, while Slowking can copy Regigigas and deal 330 damage since Ceruledge is a Terra. So you'll also have a rough time against the most played single prize decks in our Join Together format. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Against things like Charizard and Raging Bolt and Goldengo and Archaludon and Dragapult, you can win, so long as you evolve quickly and take the first 2 prize KO and keep taking 2 prize KOs. Plus, with access to Briar, you can potentially take 3 prizes on their 2 prize turn, winning the game out of nowhere. There were a few first place Ceruledge decks from Japan, and I think the one with the best odds includes Revavroom. Discard a card from your hand, draw up to 6. It's a great ability that keeps you churning through your deck, but just like Ceruledge now, if you're not careful, you could end up discarding all your resources in your quest to get rid of all your energy. So while the raw power of Ceruledge is still here, the one-noteness of the deck becomes glaringly apparent in a meta with so many wall cards and no way to burst through them like the Kool-Aid Man. Simply based on how many Feraligatr decks I've already faced on PTCGL, I expect Ceruledge to drop out of the top 10. And if the wall decks are as prevalent here as they are in Japan, you'll be conceding on turn 2 with Ceruledge more than you ever thought possible. You know what, let's end this video on a positive note. While I just showed you a lot of decks getting worse with rotation, let's focus on one getting better. A deck that kinda just disappeared for no real reason and is returning to playability for no real reason is the Future Box deck. Seeing 3 first place finishes in the last week, there's not actually any new cards in this deck. Everything's been readily available for months, so I guess people just realized that it's simply a super simple, super smooth deck to play with. Looking at the list, there's nothing special. 4 Iron Crown, 4 Iron Hands, and 2 Miraidon along with a bunch of supporters. Techno Radar to grab your basics, Future Booster to give your basics free retreat, and Heavy Baton to attach to Iron Hand so you can keep 3 of the attached energy in play after it's knocked out. If you've forgotten how to play Future Box, you go second, attack with Miraidon, accelerate a couple of energy into play, then you're off to the races. Thanks to Iron Crown's ability, your future Pokemon deal 20 more damage. Get 4 down, that's an extra 80. Attach Future Booster, that's 20 more. So Peak Acceleration can deal upwards of 140 and accelerate 2 energy, while Amp You Very Much can get up to 220, one-shotting a lot of meaningful 2-prize basics in the format like Fezandipiti and Squawkabilly and Teal-Masked Ogerpon, giving you an extra prize card in the process. The list I showed does play 4 Boss's Orders along with 1 Prime Catcher, so you may want to add in a Counter Catcher or some Pokemon Catcher, as relying on supporter-based Gust isn't always a sound strategy. But whatever you decide to do, dust off your old future cards and laugh at everyone putting their ancient cards in a binder. Well, not Raging Bolt players. Or Brute Bonnet Archaludon players. You know what, just laugh at Roaring Moon players. In past videos like these, I'd put deck lists in the description. Since I don't think you should actually play most of the decks I showed off today, you'll instead find links to them. With less than a week until rotation, let everyone know in the comments if you'll try any of these decks that a Prestige 2 PTCGL player said will be bad. And if you do, edit your comment in a couple of weeks through tear-soaked eyes with the results.